everyone, welcome back to D&D Daily English. I'm Dan, and as always, I've got my co-host Daphne right here with me. Daphne, how's it going today?
Doing very well, thank you, Dan. And I suspect today's story might actually surprise a few of our listeners, particularly those who don't follow baseball too closely.
Yeah, that's right. Today we're talking baseball, specifically Major League Baseball, or MLB. And more specifically, we're talking about a player named Munetaka Murakami, a Japanese slugger who is currently leading the entire MLB in home runs. We're going to walk through his story, talk about what makes it so interesting, and of course, pick up some great English vocabulary along the way.
Now, before we dive in, let's make sure everyone is on the same page. A slugger, that's one of today's vocabulary words, is a baseball player known for hitting the ball very hard and very far. Think of it as the power hitter of the team. Murakami very much fits that description.
Exactly. So here's the setup. Murakami plays for the Chicago White Sox. Last Friday, he hit his 13th home run of the season, and that number puts him at the top of the whole league, number 1. And this particular hit was what we call a 3-run homer. That means 2 of his teammates were already on the bases when he hit it, so his one swing scored 3 runs for the team. Pretty powerful stuff.
What's notable here is that the White Sox were actually one of the weaker teams in the league last season. Their win rate was below 50%, so bringing in a player of Murakami's caliber has clearly made a significant difference to the entire team dynamic.
Right, and here's where the story gets really interesting from a strategy standpoint. When Murakami was available to sign, all 30 MLB teams had the chance to recruit him, but 29 of those teams passed on him. 29! Why? Because the scout reports, those are professional evaluations of a player's ability, said he'd struggle with fastballs in the major leagues.
And that concern wasn't entirely without basis. Several Japanese position players before him did indeed have difficulty adapting to the higher pitch speed from MLB. So from a scouting perspective, the hesitation was understandable, if perhaps a bit hasty.
Still, you'd think someone would have looked at his record back in Japan and said, wait a minute, this guy hit 56 home runs in a single NPB season in 2022. He won the Triple Crown. He was the youngest player ever to do that in Japanese professional baseball, and at the 2023 World Baseball Classic, he hit a walk-off double to win the championship game. That's not nothing.
Indeed. And yet the White Sox were the only team willing to take the chance. They signed him to a 2-year contract worth $34 million, which by MLB standards for a top-tier hitter is actually quite modest.
So now let's talk about his actual numbers this season, because they're impressive. His batting average is .236, which is slightly below the league average, so not spectacular there. But the moment he connects with the ball, watch out. His OPS, which stands for on-base plus slugging, a key stat for measuring offensive performance, is .939. That number is way above average. He also has 19 RBIs already, meaning runs he's directly responsible for. There's a realistic path to 40 or more home runs this season if he keeps this up.
It's worth noting that OPS is considered one of the more reliable indicators of a batter's true value, so a figure of .939 places him firmly among the elite hitters in the league right now. Statistically speaking, he's been excellent.
Now, what I think is one of the coolest parts of this story isn't even about the stats. It's about who Murakami is as a teammate. On a team rest day before they headed to San Diego, he organized a sushi dinner for his teammates, just took the initiative, gathered everyone together, and treated the whole group. Shortstop Colson Montgomery talked about it and said it was Murakami's idea from the start.
Montgomery did admit the fish was perhaps a bit much for his taste, his words, not mine, but he said it was a brilliant evening. And then the very next night, Murakami hosted another sushi gathering, this time in the clubhouse itself. He said, through his interpreter, that he hoped it would help the team perform better on the field.
And you know what? It seemed to work.
That same night, Montgomery hit his 9th home run of the season. According to statistics from Elias Sports Bureau, it was the 7th time this season that both Murakami and Montgomery hit home runs in the same game. That's a record for this team in their first 35 games. They're becoming quite the dynamic duo.
Montgomery put it quite well when he described how Murakami's presence changes the batting lineup. He said that last year there wasn't a consistent power threat. Now, with Murakami in the lineup, opposing pitchers have to think twice. That pressure actually helps every other batter on the team as well.
White Sox manager Will Venable also had some really warm things to say. He pointed out that after games, even after doing interviews in both English and Japanese, Murakami took time to interact with 2 young kids in the clubhouse, the children of a former White Sox player. Even with a language barrier, the kids were high-fiving him and having a great time. Venable said these are the moments that get overlooked because of his on-field performance, but they show who he really is as a person.
That sort of leadership, and leadership is one of our vocabulary words today, isn't always visible in statistics. It's about how a player carries themselves, how they support others, and whether they help build team culture. By all accounts, Murakami has been doing exactly that from day one.
From a purely baseball standpoint, his defense is around average. He was originally scouted as a third baseman, but the White Sox have him playing first base mostly, which suits his skill set better. But honestly, when your bat is this good, the defense matters a lot less.
One thing worth mentioning is the contract structure itself. The 2-year deal gives both sides a degree of flexibility. If Murakami adapts well, which he clearly has, then the White Sox benefit from having a top-tier player at a relatively low cost. And for Murakami, it's an opportunity to build his reputation in the league before negotiating a much larger contract in the future.
And that future contract conversation is probably already happening in some team boardrooms around the league. Because at this rate, when Murakami becomes a free agent again, there are going to be a lot of teams who remember they passed on him and won't make that mistake twice.
The adaptation question, whether a Japanese hitter could succeed at this level, seems largely answered, at least in Murakami's case, though one must be careful not to generalize. Each player's journey is different, and we're only 1 month into the season.
That's a fair point. It's early. Pitchers will study him, they'll adjust, and things could get harder. MLB pitchers are not easy to deal with. They're smart, they're strategic, and once they identify a weakness, they'll target it. So the real test for Murakami is how he responds when the league figures him out. That's the adaptation challenge ahead.
Quite right. For language learners listening today, let's do a quick vocabulary recap. We covered slugger, home run, 3-run homer, OPS, scout report, fastball, leadership, adaptation, lineup, and contract. Take a moment to think about how each one was used in context today.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. The big takeaway: Munetaka Murakami came to a struggling team mostly overlooked by the rest of the league. And in just 1 month, he's leading MLB in home runs, boosting team morale, and bringing people together over sushi. That's a pretty good month by anyone's standards.
Whether or not you follow baseball, it's a compelling story about taking a chance on someone and what happens when that bet pays off. Thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll catch you in the next episode. Keep learning, keep it going. See you then.